The obsidian chamber stretched before the galactic tribunal, like a wound in space itself, its walls carved with the names of 10,000 species who had tried and failed. Ambassador Kethrak's 6 eyes gleamed as he announced the trial of ashes, his voice echoing through the vast assembly. This sacred ordeal has claimed the greatest warriors of our galaxy. No flesh survives its embrace. The crowd of thousands beings of crystal, shadow, and flame murmured in anticipation. When the human delegation stepped forward, presenting a single volunteer, the murmurs turned to shocked silence. The woman was unremarkable by galactic standards. Nucatinas, no energy shields, just pale skin and dark eyes that seemed to hold starlight. General Morrison slammed his fist on the negotiation table, his weathered face twisted with fury. You're sending her to die. Earth cannot afford to lose another representative to these sadistic games. Around him, the other human delegates nodded grimly, having witnessed 2 previous volunteers reduced to ash within minutes. But Admiral Chen, her uniform bearing scars from the Proxima Wars, studied the young woman with calculating eyes. She volunteered knowing the odds. Look at her, she's not afraid. She might be the one we've been waiting for. The woman herself said nothing, only smiled as the massive chamber doors began their ominous descent, sealing with a sound like screaming metal that would haunt the dreams of every witness. Gravity slammed into her like the fist of a dying star, multiplying her weight tenfold in an instant. Her knees buckled as invisible forces twisted her bones, seeking to snap them like kindling. Blood began trickling from her nose, painting crimson drops on the black stone beneath her boots. The alien observers in their viewing galleries laughed a symphony of clicks, hisses, and harmonics as they placed bets on how quickly this human would join the pile of ash at the chamber's center. She staggered forward anyway, each step a monumental effort, remembering the faces of Sarah, Marcus, and Elena, the 3 who had come before her, who had died so she could learn from their sacrifice. Their memory burned brighter than the pain, and she pushed forward into the inferno that was about to begin. Fire erupted from hidden vents, walls of plasma designed to reduce organic matter to component atoms within seconds. The heat seared her skin, her hair beginning to singe as she stumbled through corridors of flame. Phantoms made of shadow and regret whispered at the edges of her vision, the psychic remnants of every creature who had died in this place. Turn back, they moaned, their voices a chorus of despair. Save yourself while there's time. She stopped in the center of the inferno and screamed back at them, her voice hoarse but unbroken. I am human, we don't turn back. The flames seemed to part slightly at her words, as if even they recognized something unyielding in her spirit. Outside the chamber, the betting stopped as observers realized this human was lasting far longer than any projection had predicted. The chamber reconfigured itself with mechanical precision, walls folding and reshaping into a labyrinth of spinning blades and cutting edges. Each turn brought new wounds, her blood beginning to pool in the treads of her boots as she navigated the maze by instinct and determination alone. Her heart hammered against her ribs, monitors throughout the viewing galleries registering pulse rates that should have killed her minutes ago. As consciousness began to fade, she found herself thinking of Earth's blue skies, her mother's voice from childhood. When you fall, you get back up. That's what we do. The memory burned away the fog of pain, and she pressed deeper into the labyrinth where death waited around every corner. Constructs of pure energy materialized before her alien guardians that had never been defeated by biological creatures. They moved like living lightning, beings of such power that most species couldn't even perceive them properly. She had no weapons but her hands and the iron will that had carried her through 3 decades of impossible odds. When the first guardian struck, she caught its energy tendril in her bare hands, feeling her palms burn as she twisted and pulled, until the construct came apart in a cascade of sparks. The observation galleries fell silent as she did the impossible. No organic being should have been able to touch those entities, let alone destroy them. But she was already moving to the next guardian, blood streaming down her arms, smile growing wider with each victory. The labyrinth began collapsing inward, walls grinding together to create a crushing corridor barely wide enough for her shoulders. The grinding of metal on stone echoed like the death screams of worlds as the space narrowed with each passing second. Her ribs cracked under the pressure, breath coming in shallow gasps as she braced her arms against the walls and pushed with everything she had left. Her boots slipped on her own blood, leaving crimson streaks on the stone as she fought physics itself. The corridor should have crushed her flat, but inch by agonizing inch, she forced it open through sheer human stubborn refusal to die. Outside, an alien child tugged at its parent's appendage and asked in perfect innocence, "Why doesn't she stop?" The parent's voice carried a note of dawning understanding. Humans don't know when to stop. The chamber plunged her into absolute darkness and silence, a void designed to strip away identity itself, until nothing remained but empty flesh, waiting for death. Her memories began dissolving like sugar in water. Her name, her purpose, the faces of everyone she'd ever loved. The darkness whispered that resistance was futile, that no species had ever retained their sense of self in this place of nothingness. But as her name began to slip away entirely, she cut her finger on a piece of debris and wrote it in blood on the invisible ground beneath her. The crimson letters glowed faintly in the dark, anchoring her identity even as everything else tried to flee. When the void's voices taunted that no species survived this trial, she laughed through bloodied lips. "I'm not a species, I'm me." The final gate rose before her, like the entrance to hell itself. Beyond it, a chamber of molten rivers and storms of acid rain. The temperature hit her like a physical blow as she crossed the threshold, her skin beginning to blister immediately. Every step forward left perfect boot prints in blood on the superheated stone, a trail that would be studied by xenobiologists for generations. The storm screamed around her with the voices of every human who had ever lived, her ancestors calling her forward. Her descendants she would never meet, cheering her on. Her body was failing, bones cracking, organs shutting down, but her spirit blazed brighter than the molten rock around her. She dragged herself through hell itself, leaving pieces of herself behind with each step, but never stopping, never slowing, never doubting she would reach the other side. She collapsed at the final gate as her body finally surrendered to the impossible demands she had placed on it. The viewing galleries fell silent, even the tribunal members convinced they had witnessed another human death. Her heart stopped for 17 seconds, long enough for the betting pools to begin paying out. Then her bloodied hand slammed against the stone with enough force to crack it, the sound echoing through the chamber like a gunshot. She rose on shaking legs, swaying like a tree in a hurricane, but somehow still standing, her boots now completely soaked in crimson. The gate, recognizing a true victor at last, shattered into a million fragments that rained down around her like celebration confetti made of pain and triumph. She walked out of the trial of ashes before the stunned representatives of 1,000 worlds, her smile visible through torn lips and burned flesh. The alien dignitaries recoiled as one, some in awe, others in primal fear, as they recognized that humanity had just proven something terrible about themselves. A small alien child, hidden behind its parents' bulk, whispered the words that would echo through history. She walked out smiling. The tribunal leader, an ancient being that had witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations, muttered to its companions, "We may have made a mistake. Humans are far more dangerous than we calculated." The woman stopped before the assembly, raised her head with effort that should have killed her, and spoke in a voice that carried to every corner of the vast chamber. "This trial belongs to us now." And in that moment, the balance of galactic power shifted forever.